So hey guys, some of you guys know that I recently started my own Instagram page where I talk about a lot of books that I have read. And anybody that knows me knows how much I love to read. I don't even really watch TV. I pretty much read, and I love hood books. Everybody know me, know how much I love hood books. In urban fiction, black authors, I love. I recently got into paranormal. A lot of the vampire books. Some of the urban vampire books are they real dope. And I just want to explain the name of my page on Instagram. It's called Illiterate Black Girl. And a lot of people's like, oh, that's different, or like, why you want to call yourself Illiterate Black Girl? Like, what, what's the story behind the name? When basically, I just want to give a brief description about the name of my page and why I named it that way. It's not really hard for me to talk about, but it is hard for me to talk about it on camera. So I may experience have to take a break or breathe or whatever. Well, I talk about this all the time when I'm at work. I do hair. I have a salon suit and Phoenix Salon and Suits in Huntsville, and I do hair. And, when you're doing hair, you just talk. And most times I do a lot of braids, a lot of natural styles that take time. So I end up talking, and sometimes I would tell people about some of the stories that I have read or I'm currently reading. And people say, girl, you explain the book so well. I don't even need to read the book. I just, listen to you. And that asked me, how do I remember these books? Because I have read so many, but I literally can't remember everyone I read. Well, it's because I love to read so much. But anyway, let me move on because I don't want the videos to be so long. I grew up illiterate. I did not know how to read through elementary school. I did not know how to read through middle school, and I did not know how to read when I graduated. I am not dumb. I am not stupid. I knew how to do my work. I just couldn't understand the words that was on the paper. I am dyslexic, and I also have a reading disability, a learning disability. I suffer from reading comprehension. And also, I used to learn something, but the next day I could not remember what I had learned. So I'm more of a visual, and I learn by hearing. How do I start? Well, okay. So I think I was in the first grade when one of my teachers realized that I had a problem. And I grew up in Alabama. And growing up in Alabama is very, very hard. It was hard for me. I didn't have a good childhood. I had some happy times in my childhood, but they really weren't good. And I don't know how to explain it. It was just I was easily overlooked. And this is no shade to my lighter sisters or my white sisters, but if you were dark and if you were big, I was chubby, I've been chubby all my life, been a big girl all my life. You were fat and you had short hair. You no one cared. If you didn't look a certain way, no one really cared. And then throw that on top of you having a learning disability, people really didn't care, And then my mom was a hood, is very hood. So throw that on, you just was pretty much a lost kid. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have nobody. I had a twin brother, and me and my brother was thick as thieves. And he was all I had, when I was really young. I got retained in the first grade, and my mom didn't want to split me and my brother up, so she told him to retain him also. Nothing is wrong with my brother. It was just me. My brother pretty much helped me throughout my whole, throughout my whole elementary school. Like, I made it because of my brother. Once again, I'm not done. I wasn't dumb or anything. No one would take the time to help me. I remember they finally put me in, I guess they call it special education or whatever. It was like no child left behind. Like, it was like a no child left behind law or whatever. And like, they would come and they would take you out the classroom. And basically they would just give you stuff that you already knew. So it looks like they're helping you. So for instance, if you were in, let's say if you were in the 3rd grade and you had learning disabilities, well, they'll give you 1st grade work. You already know the basis of 1st grade work, or they'll see what you know and they will always give you work on what you knew. So you was never progressing. I remember I had this teacher named Miss Turner. Love her to death. She was a sister. And I remember we used to have to read in groups. And I knew some of my sight words, but I didn't know all of them. And I think I was like in the 2nd or 3rd grade. And she was like, it's your turn to read. And I was like, and I used to stay quiet because I didn't want people to call on me for stuff because I knew I wouldn't knew how, to do it. So she was like, Sheree, it's your turn. And I was like, I don't want to, And she was like, no, you have to. So I stared at the book, and everybody was staring at me, staring at the book. And I remember I just wanted to shrink. I can't say ST words, y'all. S words, just so y'all bear with me. But I just wanted to just wither and die. And she was like, sound it out. Do you know how to sound out a word? And I said, yes. She asked me, did I know my sounds? And I said, yes, I know my sounds. And she said, well, all the letters, you know what those are? And I said, yeah. She said, so she wrote CAT on the board. And she was like, okay, what is this? She asked me what the letters are. And I told her. And she said, what are they sounds? And I sounded them out for her. And she would say, okay, sound them out, but sound them out together. So I would say, at. And she was like, okay, what's the word? And I was like, I don't know. And she would say, sound it out again. And I would sound it out. And she was like, when you sound it out fast. And no matter how many times I sounded out, no matter how fast I sounded out, how slow I sounded out, no, it did not matter. I did not know the word. And she was like, okay, and this teacher, no matter what, she tried, and I give it to her. She tried, but she could never figure out why my brain was not telling me that I was reading. And I remember I got in a 3rd grade. I think this was a 3rd grade. In 3rd grade, I forgot what it was called, but it was where they put the 3rd grade and the 4th grade together. And I had this teacher named Miss Hilliker. That bitch, if y'all see that bitch, slap the taste out of her mouth for me. She's probably dead and gone. But she was so evil to me. And like, she was like nice, nasty with it. It wasn't no, like, just point you out. She would just always make me feel so low, just low. And I remember I remember one day, like, I grew up really poor also. So I think I was like in the 3rd grade. And I remember back then in the 3rd grade, I used to think if you were white, you were beautiful. So if you were a white girl and you had long blonde hair and just like, for some reason, when I was a little girl, I used to think white girls floated, like just floated on air. So I remember we had this student teacher, and this student teacher would, she would just walk around the classroom and she would just help all the kids. But like I said, I couldn't read, and I used to be embarrassed, so I wouldn't say anything. I would just be really, really quiet. I wasn't a bad kid, but I used to do anything. I just wanted to be invisible So I pretended like nothing, like I didn't need anything. I would sit there when the teacher would teach. I would pretend like I'm listening. When everybody do their work, I would just write my name over and over again. But every time I would see the student teaching, I used to say to myself, I really wish she would come over here and talk to me. Because when she would talk to the other kids, like she used to, like, just to me, she just seemed like a ray of sunshine. And I remember we had to write in journals. And so I couldn't write neither. So I would just either write my name or I would write my ABCs over and over again in the journal. And, you know, one particular day, I guess Miss Hilker she got pissed off. I don't know, somebody pissed in her Kool-Aid that day. And she just started walking around the classroom. She was like, all right, everybody get out your journals. So I got out my journals. And she wrote a topic. Could not read the topic. And I couldn't, to this day, I couldn't tell you what the topic was. But when she came to me, I was pretending like I was so into reading, and she kind of like pulled my folder, and she was like, what is this? And I was like, my journal. And she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, writing in my journal. She said, but this is not the topic. She never pretty much said what it was, but she, you know, let the kids know that I couldn't read or write. But she was just like, this is not the topic. You never do your work, and you never do your work correctly. That's what she had said. And I remember her asking the student teacher to come over, and she was like, help her, just see if you can get her together. And I remember I was happy that she kind of like didn't like put, you know, embarrass me. I was just happy she was asking the student teacher to come over and help me. But I remember every time she would talk to me, I would feel so fucking low. And anyway, so long story short, the student teacher came and she sat down and she was just smiling. I remember when she sat down, she had like she sat down and she scooted my chair a little bit to her, and I was happy. And then she like kind of like looked at me like, and so she just sat back, and then she was like, I'll be right back. And she got up and she walked off, and she said something to Miss Hilliker. And so Miss Hilliker, instead of coming to me, she came to the class, and pretty much she gave a hygiene talk. Like, she pretty much gave a hygiene talk, and she was saying, hey guys, you guys are getting a certain age where it's time for you all to start wearing deodorant. And I was like, is this bitch? Like, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't saying it like that, but I was like, that's how I was, like, oh my God, like, she smelled me. And when I was young, my mama told us, like, it wasn't time for, she would just say, wash under your arms with soap and water when you take a bath. But my mom said it wasn't time for us to, you know, wear deodorant, so we never wore deodorant. And so I knew she was talking about me. Now, by this time, I'm getting really scared. My hands are sweaty because I know I'm about to get embarrassed. Like, for some reason, this lady always just went out her ways to fucking embarrass me. And so she was like, so you guys basically, if you smell, you need to go to the bathroom and wash them under your arms. That's what she was telling the class. So she proceeds to walk around the class and start to smell on all of the kids' arms. And she gets to me and she was like, I need you to go to the bathroom and wash up under your arms. And I was like, what? And she was just like, go to the bathroom and wash up under your arms. Like that. And I was just like, I just went to the bathroom. And I remember my brother getting up and he walked out the classroom too. And I just started crying. And I remember my brother was like, it's going to be all right. You know, don't worry about it. When I came back in the classroom, none of the kids made fun of me. Nobody ever said anything. But then I said to myself then, you know, I was just going to be quiet and not bring attention to myself because, you know, so I never asked for help. Like, I never asked for help. I never wanted help. I just didn't want anyone talking to me. I didn't want to teach. I would just sit there and pretend like I knew what was going on. So I wasn't a problem child. I did not get in trouble like that. Other than fighting other kids for picking on me, I was known as the girl that would beat your ass if you mess with me, pretty much. And so I went through school. Every now and then I would have a teacher who would figure it out. And what you mean? Like you can't read? Because I was really good at math, but reading, it was not my forte. But I have street sense. Like I can hustle. You know what I'm saying? I know how to take care of myself. I know how to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? I literally can have a conversation with someone and pretend like I know what's going on, and have to this day still can, and have an intellectual conversation with someone, and they not know that I have no idea what they talking about. And I did that all the way through school. I got to my ninth grade. I got to ninth grade, and that's when one of the teachers, we was talking about Greek mythology, and I was all in that shit because some reason I always love when people tell stories. And I remember, like, in high school, I always wanted to, like, read. I always wanted to pick up a book and, like, read a book. But, like, the words and the letters on the book just looked so foreign to me. It would give me a headache, and I'd just be like, fuck it, you know. And I remember after we had the topic in the ninth grade, we was, you know, her name's Miss Cousin. Love her. She's the fucking best. We was talking. She was like, you was really... she called me to her desk. I remember we had a quiz, a pop quiz on there. She called me to her desk, and she was like, "Hey, you was really into the discussion today. You had you was really into it." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "So, why your quiz is blank?" And I was like, I just told her, I was like, I couldn't read the question. And she said, "You can't read?" And I said, "Nope, I just can't." I got tired, like. I repeat this shit every year. Everybody figure it out. And she was like, "What do you mean you can't read?" I was like, "I can't read. I don't know what I'm looking at." I was like, "I know a couple of words, but I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, it looks crazy to me. It looks foreign to me. I don't know." So she proceeded. She said, "I'm going to read these questions to you, and I want you to give me the answers." And she read all the questions to me, and I gave her all the answers. And she was like... She said, "I'm gonna pull your file." So she pulled my file, and I have good grades in all my classes, like all the way up to, from ninth grade all the way up. I had A's and B's because they gave me work that was easy for me. Like, everything that was given to me in school, I already knew how to do. Like, just basically, I'm in 5th grade, they'll give me 3rd grade work. You know what I'm saying? That's how it went. If I was in the 6th grade, they would give me 4th grade work. So it made it like I was doing good and I was progressing, but I really wasn't. That's the No Child Left Behind law. Anyway, so through my high school years, she talked to my other teachers, and I would honestly say through my high school years, it was so much easier for me because most of my stuff was done orally. Only thing I didn't really get orally was like the parts on my test where it had to be reading. I would always flunk those. Everything was orally. I'm not dumb. I have plenty of sense. I'm actually very smart. It's just the reading part wasn't. I just couldn't get. Also, I finally graduated. And I was a teen mom, had a baby in high school, married my high school sweetheart, loved my husband to death, been married 17 years. And I remember I had my 3rd child. I was pregnant with my 3rd child. I was pregnant. And I remember I used to do hair. Literally, I was a kitchen beautician when I got to Hawaii. Like, everybody used to come to my house to get their hair did. That was my shit. I always did hair. And I remember one day, one of these young girls was in my house. I think I was a little older than her. She probably like 18, 19. And she was reading this book. I think her name was Keita. I think she followed me on Facebook too. I'm going to see. I can't remember her name. I know she had like 5 sisters. But she was reading this book. And I had like 5 people in my house waiting. And like, I'm listening to her tell the story of this book. And the book was called Addicted. And I know y'all know that book is by Zane, because back then Zane was like the shit. Like everybody was crazy about Zane books. Look at me telling my age. Anyway, she was like, they was just talking, and I'm like, shit, all this shit in a fucking book. Like when they was just saying all the shit that was going on in the book, I was so fucking in tune to what they was talking about. And I was like, damn, I wish I could read. Because I remember I always just, that was just one of my dreams, to just sit down, read a book. I just wanted to read a book. Like, yo, that was just like, so I remember she left the book. Like, she forgot it because she just read it and they was talking about it. She just put it on my encounter and she left the book. And I remember cleaning up and I was staring at the book and I was like, damn. Damn, I wish I could, read it. And I don't know what came over me, but the phone had rung and my husband was deployed then. He was on his first deployment and he was young. I think he was like 22, I think. Yeah, I think I was about 22 then. And 21. I can't remember. I know I was young as fuck. I know I was 20. I know I was 20. So it was between 20 and 22. And I remember he was like, what's up, baby? Like calls was rare back then. You didn't get them in the calls from, we mostly emailed each other a lot. And he was like, and I don't know what came over me, but I had said, I got something to tell you, like that. And he was like, what? And I just said, I just told him, I was like, I can't read. And he was like, what? And I was like, I can't read. And I remember my heart was beating so fast. Like, I started to sweat. And he was like, I know. I was like, what? He was like, I know. He was like, I know when you be like, babe, feel this out for me. I've been knowing since we were kids. Like, and I grew up with my husband. He's like, I always knew. He said, I know you, and don't say you. I was like, well, I ain't dumb. I ain't stupid or nothing. He was like, I married you. I know you ain't dumb. He was like, just the words, they don't pop out at you. And he's like, it's okay. And I said, I want to know how. And he was like, read. He was like, just read. He was like, don't be getting no little kid shit. He said, just pick up a book, any book, and read. And then I go to tell him about the book. And he was like, do you know some of your sight words? I was like, yeah, I do know some of my sight words. He was like, okay, this is what we gonna do. He was like, I need you to type up the first sentence, the first paragraph. He said, type it up and email it to me. And then I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna read it to you. Like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I did that. And the next day, he was like, he read the first sentence to me. No, he said, have you tried to read? And I said, yeah, I tried to read it. He said, well, read to me what you have tried to read. So I started reading to him and trying to sound it out and reading to him. And he said, okay, so what you talking about? You don't know how to read? You just read. I was like, I don't understand what I read. He said, you don't know how to comprehend what you are reading, and you're not reading it enough to comprehend it, but you are reading like that. And I was like, yeah. He said, yeah. He said, so I'm finna read back to you what you read. So he read back to me what I had read. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, now start on the next sentence. And he said, every word that you get to, you underline it. And then he said, you got to keep, he said, if you don't understand it, go back and you keep reading, you keep sounding out. He said, you may not understand the words, but the words are going to jump out at you because you keep reading the sentence over. And every time you read it over, it's going to sound more and more like you understand what you're reading. And I was like, so I was emailing him words, but I hadn't talked to him in like 4 weeks, like I was talking to him in emails, but I hadn't really talked to him in like some weeks, like about 2 or 3 weeks. I say probably 4 weeks. And like a lot of times when he would email me stuff, I kind of know what he emailed me, but I kind of don't. And back then my English was really bad. Like I'm from Alabama, so I used to slur and I didn't say whole words. Like it was bad to where a lot of people used to be like, what the fuck she said? And my daughter would translate and be like, my mommy said. So a lot of shit, like, I would tell y'all, if anybody ever read Precious and read the book Precious, when I first read Precious, I understood everything she was saying, because the way she used to talk was exactly how I used to talk when I graduated out of high school. I talked exactly like her. But anyway, pretty much, long story short, I taught myself how to read. It took me about 4 months to get through that book, and I would read every day. Sometimes I would be stuck on a page for like 2 days. But I got it. When I say I got it, and it was like one day it just clicked. I mean, it clicked, and I felt like it just opened up a whole new world for me. Like, and I went from that book to another book, from that book to another book. But I had trained myself to read out loud. So for about 2 or 3 years, I would sit in a room and I would just read, listening to myself read. And I'm like literally reading out loud. And my husband said, do you know how to read? By this time, my husband was back. And I had like a stack of books when he had came back. And he said, you know how to read to yourself? And I was like, no. He was like, do you know how to read quietly? And I said, no. He said, I'm not asking you to read quietly. I'm just saying, I just realized that you don't know how to read class. So I had taught myself how to read, but then I could not read silently. So I had to teach myself all over again how to read silently. That was another thing. But by the end, like, my husband ended up starting reading, I read, and I just love books. And I learned how to read with urban books. So that's why I love urban books so much. So that's pretty much the backstory on why I named my IG page Illiterate Black Girl. So for the ones in the back who's like, why would you say that? That's stupid. Or some people be like, that interesting. That's pretty much the reason why I call myself Illiterate Black Girl. That's like a little brief story. I don't really tag authors. Like, this page just for fun. This just me, is for fun. I have read thousands of books. Addicted will always and forever be my favorite book. I read that book 1,000 times. So it'll always and forever be my favorite book. The movie was trash. But that book, like, is the reason why I read Black authors today. And that's just the backstory. This page is really for like people who like to just read and talk about the books. Be a lot of spoilers on my IG page. It's gonna be a spoiler. I don't really bother or tag authors of the books that I read, because to my fact, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. Authors are artists too, and they sensitive about their shit. I follow hundreds of authors on my Facebook page, and they crazy as fuck, okay? Like, so if I'm talking about their book and y'all tag them because I'm talking about their book, yo, no hard feelings. I just give my honest opinion. If I think it's trash, it's trash. That's just how I feel about it. I'm a regular person, man. If you can't take constructive criticism, then, hey, I do have it. The people that told me, hey, I think you trash. Hey, it is what it is. It ain't been many, but I had somebody say, hey, I think you trash. I think you do have your hair is trash. Hey, it is what it is. If you don't like me, you go to somebody else. But I just give my honest opinions. So I guess, that's it. My fro is in there. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the end of, the video. I didn't try to record this video like 1,000 times. But I finally got it done. I'm finally finished. So yeah. I mean, all right. This is first post, first video from Illiterate Black Girl. And see you on the next post. All right, guys. Bye.